Absolutely, yeah. Look,
100%.
absolutely, it does, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely, and being a challenge like this,
100%.
it'd be interesting to see what. Yeah, absolutely, and like you kind of.
100%.
Absolutely, and who knows?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I mean,
Absolutely, yeah. He's doing.
100%. All that.
Welcome to the Absolutely 100% podcast, where combat sports journalist Dan Meehan and featherweight mixed martial artist Justin Lockjaw Van Heerden cover all the latest talking points from the Aussie fight scene.
All right, welcome everyone. We're back. It's the Absolutely 100% podcast. It's a new era for Fight Talk Down Under. So this is episode 45, the first of the new era. So we're obviously going to be getting into all the local MMA, local combat sports scene. And I guess before we sort of get into what our plans are, I'll introduce our co-host. Of course, we all know him. He just fought on the weekend, had a big win on Hex Fight Series. It's Lockjaw, Justin Van Heerden. How are you, mate?
Good. Glad to be back doing this. Glad to be back talking about fights and just generally just talking shit, because that's fun to do. So yeah, it should be fun.
Absolutely, it's good to be back. I think our last episode was in August last year, so it's been a minute, but you know, it's going to follow the same format, right? So it'll still be the same fun and frivolity that we had before. You know, we'll talk about all the fights. I'll mercilessly plug one championship, of course. I'll begin every sort of passage that I say with the word absolutely. And then, of course, Lockjaw is going to sort of begin his little passages with 100%. And then, he'll probably go on to spray some people as well. So all the same things are going to happen, but it'll be just under a bit of a different banner. And we're going to look at sort of doing this monthly instead of weekly. So we've got a bit more sort of content for the local scene to round up and to cover off. So yeah, how does all that sound?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's going to be cool too, because obviously then we can, for us too, obviously it makes it that bit better to sort of deal with all the craziness that life throws our way, so we can, maintain consistency, but at the same time put a bit more detail into sort of, I guess, what we're covering, what we're talking about.
Absolutely, yeah. We can be consistently inconsistent with with a whole month to play with, I guess. But we'll try and sort of hit it around this sort of first week of the month. But of course, like you kind of touched on there, we're both dads, and we've got sort of things going on in life. So sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to pull it together. But here we are. We've done it. So let's start with your fight. Hey, obviously fought at Hex over in Auckland, New Zealand over the weekend. Pulled off a unanimous decision over Michael Barber, who turned out to be a tough customer again. Didn't manage to put him away, but obviously came away with a clear judge's decision. So yeah, I guess how do you reflect on it now we've had a few days?
Yeah, obviously went a lot longer, and then went a bit more gritty, a bit more of a dogfight than what I was sort of planning. I mean, round one, if you look at the first round, that's exactly my game. That was sort of the game plan, or the perfect sort of outcome finish. Like all the whole camp leading up to the fight, I was like, if he zigs when he should zags, and turns and gives me his back, like I'm gonna lock that body triangle. I know he's gonna try and stand up, and then we're just gonna sink in that choke, and that's gonna be all she wrote. So I remember I was like on his back. I was doing what I was doing, like trying to get under the neck, controlling the hands. As soon as I went under the neck, I looked at Colby, and I just kind of like sort of gave him a bit of a smirk, because I was like, yep, this is it. Like, this is a wrap. It's done. And then that motherfucker just stayed in there, man. He was turning all sorts of colors. He was gurgling, and he obviously fell backwards. And especially that's usually a sign like it's over, like if someone's falling backwards. So in my mind, I was like, oh, this is a wrap. But then I realized he was still in it. I switched to like a short choke, even was cranking. His neck was even cranking. And I was like, man, this guy, he's just not quitting. Like, and I was telling him, I was like, just go out, Michael. Just go out. Like, just stop. But obviously the dude's an absolute animal, so he didn't want to quit. He was never going to quit. He was never going to tap. So I knew I had to like put him out. And then obviously round two, went a bit sort of out of what was the plan, and kind of just went a bit astray from what would work, and what's kind of good to deal with sort of his game, and what he wants and how he finds success. So early on, even though I wasn't really feeling like I was in too much danger, that I kind of like allowed him to establish position in those first 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes of the round, and keep me up against the fence and land some good shots on the inside in the clinch, where he obviously excels a lot. So that was a bit, I guess, silly on my part to kind of let him kind of work his way back into the fight a little bit. And then, third round, we kind of rallied up. Colby told me to try and put a stamp on it and, try and find a way to sort of shut this thing down. And, got after it a bit more, especially in the clinch. And then obviously moving forward, like putting him on the back foot a little bit a few times. But, that dude's a cyborg. He just keeps walking forward. So he just kept coming. So we ended up in the clinch again and was able to sneak in like a big knee, sort of a throwback to our first fight. I hurt him with the knee in the first round. I had a point taken in the second round for an illegal knee, but this one was legal. This one was all good. Sat him down, and I thought, it's a wrap. I ended up on top in half guard and elbowed him in the face, and I thought, this is done. And then he kind of just like looked at me, grabbed me, and pulled me back down, and I was like, fuck, all right, this guy's still in here. Like, and then I said to him, I was like, you are easily the toughest dude I've ever fought. Like, I said that to him while I was fighting him. I was like, you're easily the toughest guy I've been in here with. Like, just mental. So, like, in a way, I was even thinking about it. I was like, I got a submission win in the first, technically. And I was like, maybe on any mere mortal, I would have subbed him. I TKO'd this guy in the third, and then, he still went the distance. I was like, but I wasn't surprised. And he's obviously, I think, we had a good chat after the fight, he and I as well. And I said to him, I was like, he looked physically the best he's ever looked. Like, he looked like he bulked up and was like in shape, and was just, he obviously felt a bit stronger in there, felt a bit better with the defensive grappling and wrestling. I think he was just came in at the best he ever did. He told me he had the best camp he ever had. So I wasn't surprised that he was obviously in there for 15 minutes and able to sort of put on a pace and just keep going, because we kind of see that, like, he's broken guys before with just that relentless forward pressure and just his gas tank and just the ability to sort of take shots and give it back. So, I mean, we saw that in the fight with Sam, right? He just kept coming. Round one, Sam had success. And then round two, the tide started turning. And then by the time we were in that third round, he was starting to get some really good work in. So, I wasn't surprised that the guy just showed no quit. But, man, I would have preferred if he just got out of there in the first.
It would have been a whole lot easier, wouldn't it? It would have saved you a bit of trouble in that second round, particularly. But when you hit that knee in the last round, the way he sort of flopped to the canvas, it kind of like you say, it looked like it was over really at that point. But it was almost like the canvas woke him up. It was one of those sort of like, there's a bit of Tyson Fury about it. It looked like he was gone for all money, and then suddenly he's just fighting again like nothing had happened. Like, what do you put that sort of durability down to with him? Is it just pure sheer will and toughness, or is there a bit of sort of technique to it as well, like when he was fighting off the chokes and physical strength and that sort of thing? What do you put it down to?
If you look at it in that first round, initially, obviously, I got under his neck and I started choking him, and then he obviously fell backwards because it was at that point, right? It was probably like 1 or 2 more seconds there where his body was just going to make the decision for him, and he would have just gone out, right? Like, he managed to just hold on that little bit. But then if you actually watch the rest of the round, obviously I stayed on his back for the rest of the round. And then like the last 10 seconds, he managed to spin through and end up in my guard. But if you watch like what he was doing, he was listening to his corner, and he was, staying on the hands. He was doing like all the right things you're meant to do when someone's on your back. I had the body lock. He was trying to go to the side where the lock was to break it. I kept switching, and he was making adjustments. So, he definitely showed like I said, an improvement in those areas as well, and especially with the wrestling and stuff as well. Obviously, you and I kind of spoke about this. There was that little bit of it felt like there was like that little bit of slipperiness in the canvas when I was trying to really dig my feet in and drive, but it wasn't too bad. And it's kind of just one of those things too, right? He's doing everything he can to stay on his feet, and I'm trying to put effort into taking him down, but at the same time, not just going full steam ahead in that sort of one position. And then, I get a takedown, and I know he's just going to pop. He is going to pop straight back up. Like, he is just going to try to get back up because he is very good at doing that. So there's just that little sort of fine line. But like I think too, in terms of his chin and stuff like that, like I said, he's obviously looked like he was in the best shape he's been in. And and then I don't think he cuts a lot of weight, if any. I think he might even diet down to weigh in at that weight or whatever. I can't imagine him seeing him cut a lot or anything like that. So I think that helps too, right? Obviously, you don't do a big weight cut, you're not depleting the fluid around your brain, so you're going to be able to absorb some shots a bit better. And yeah, his mental toughness, like the guy's just obviously very mentally tough, and he's been in so many wars, so many fights, and just doesn't stop. So when people, we often hear people talk about people having that dog in him. He definitely does. That dude's got about 5 in him.
Absolutely he does. And there you go. I think that might be the first absolutely of the podcast. I don't know. I might have not said it without realising the first time perhaps, but there you go. It's come out already, so that's good. We're true to it's on brand for us, Justin. That's what we say in the biz.
Yeah, exactly. The branding works. We're sticking to it.
That's right. So, okay, how do you rate your performance, right? You got a, obviously a dominant round. The first round looks like you might have got some 10-8s as well. I think there was a couple of 29-27s on the scorecards. Near finish, you could say that there was a near finish in the third round. Obviously, you wanted to get this one done inside the distance. Didn't manage to do it. How do you rate your own performance looking back?
Straight after the fight, I was pretty frustrated and pretty bummed. Obviously, like that's pretty normal. Like I think I'm my own hardest critic, and then, I think that's most fighters are going to kind of be like that. So initially, I was pretty disappointed. That I didn't get the finish, and that I kind of that when went a bit astray in that second round, it kind of allowed him to work his way back into the fight a little bit. But then talking to Colby at the back, and then with him sort of talking to me through, and he's like, I do the same. He's like, I understand, but he's like, you still got the win. So that's first off, regardless, you still got the win. And there's still things like that were really good. Like, and then watching it back, when I watched it back, I felt a bit better about it as well. I was kind of like, all right, there's still some good things to take out of it. Some obviously, the first things you identify is the stuff you need to work on and critique yourself on. But then I still, I still looked at the things that I did well in there. Like I said, in that first round, that whole sequence of me getting him down, taking his back, getting the control, and then, looking for the submission. I mean, that's something that I was looking for in my sparring. It was something I was looking for in my meat grinders. Like, and it come out obviously in the fight, and, very, very, very nearly won me the fight. So that was a positive to take out of it. I messaged Vulcan because I was pretty bummed about like not getting the finish, and he was like, "Don't, same thing." He's like, "Bro, don't be too hard." He said, "Don't worry about it. You got the win, and that's the most important thing." So, So obviously there were still some things to pick out, but if I were to rate my performance, obviously for my own standards to myself, and I think if I'm speaking for everyone else's standards that they expect from me, definitely not what we're used to seeing from me. But I'll give myself like a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 seems like if I'm being like honest with myself, seems fair. Obviously, there was a few bits and pieces I could have done better, or a few things I could have capitalized on a bit better. Obviously, I can sit here with certain things and sort of Monday morning quarterback it and go, this is something I could have done different. Especially after that knee, like watching it back when I was actually watching the fight, and then I saw him when I landed the knee and saw how he fell. In hindsight, I should have just stood up and started punching him in the fucking head. Like I should have just, or not followed him down. But I think in the moment, obviously, I felt the impact of the knee, and the sound it made was like pretty rough. So I was like, I knew it was a good shot, but the way he kind of went down, I didn't know. Like I think in the moment, and maybe I just felt like it kind of felt like I've heard him, but maybe he like tripped. It was like a trip or a slip or more on that end, like that's why he went down. So I think that, I landed in the top position in half guard and was, trying to just go from there. But then obviously watching it back, it was like, maybe if I didn't follow him down and he just dropped back like that, either the ref's stopping it or I just land a couple of shots and it's over. But, hindsight's 2020, as they say, and obviously I consider and pick out little things like that after the fact all day. But all in all, pretty happy that I got the win, happy that I'm back to it after a layoff. But I'll give myself like a solid 7 out of 10 on that performance. Obviously some things to work on as always, which is a good thing.
You talk about the layoff there, like how much of a relief is that to sort of get back to work. Like, obviously your teammate Volk has sort of spoken about this, sort of the difficulties that come with not sort of having fights on the horizon. You're a guy who likes to fight and be active and all those sorts of things. So to sit out for a year was obviously pretty tough. I know you sort of had your ups and downs with that yourself. So yeah, I guess what's the feeling like just getting back to work, getting the ball rolling again?
Oh man, it's been awesome. Like it's just going through a camp again, going through all those hurdles of a fight camp again, all those sort of things, being back to sort of that routine, and then obviously just being back in a fight week, and then being over in New Zealand for the first time and just soaking in another sort of awesome experience that comes as a result of this sort of career path. So yeah, it's been like super cool to get back to it. Obviously, that year off was very frustrating in many ways, and obviously there was a few times there where it was like pretty difficult, and a few things like start sort of impacting you, I guess. But I'm very fortunate that I'm surrounded by some pretty cool people and I'm pretty blessed in life. So I got great support around me and stuff as well. So it was it was just kind of like relying on that and kind of just knowing that things are gonna start rolling again, and things are gonna get back to how they're meant to be. And then obviously the main thing for me was because it was a year with not fighting. And if you look at my career up to this point, like I went pro in 2017, and then 7 years I've had, this is my 18th fight. Like that sort of like an average of like three fights a year, where I'm usually just fighting. So to go from that to fighting last year in June and then nothing till now was like, it was weird. It was kind of like did not like the fact that I wasn't as active as I normally am, but at the same time, like there's obviously a few factors and stuff that come into play in the sort of position I'm in now. Obviously, I'm in a really good position. I've worked really hard to be in the position I'm in, and even now, like I obviously in the lead up to the fight, all the interviews and chats and stuff I did, I maintained to give Michael the credit he deserves, because I saw a few people not giving that to him in the lead up and stuff like that. But I mean, me taking this fight, for me, from my end, was me risking my position and where I'm at in the sort of in the region and in the division. And I understand that, but at the same time, it was a risk that it was like a calculated risk in a sense, where I thought I had a lot more avenues to get the job done stylistically and stuff like that. And obviously now I can sit here and be happy that I capitalized on that and got the W, and it just adds further to my position that I'm in now. Like I think it's pretty clear I'm the number one featherweight in the region, and I have been for quite some time. I mean, my win streak is almost up to as many fights as some of these dudes have total, so it's like, look, it's and then obviously seeing some of the reactions to me being back online, and seeing some of the things that come with being back in the spotlight of the MMA world, I guess it kind of just reassures me that I'm on the right path, and I'm obviously doing the right things, and I'm right where I should be, and I'm in a good position because everyone's kind of nipping at my heels.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the cavalry arrives, don't they? Like once Lockjaw's in the cage, people start sort of coming out, good, bad, and ugly. There's always people sort of making comments, but you like you kind of touched on there, six wins straight, 4 finishes. Again, you obviously, I know you wanted to finish. You really badly wanted to finish in this last one to really put a stamp on sort of where you're at. But I mean, do you feel like this win still, just only enhances your position now? Like we know that you've got to be on the doorstep of a big opportunity, right? So do you feel like this win has kind of enhanced your position, or do you think it's just kind of maintained where you're at? Yeah, how do you think it affects it?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's like added to that. It's definitely enhanced where I'm at, and kind of it's a step forward in the right direction, regardless. That's part of the game, right? We got to fight and we got to win, and that's what anyone wants. So I feel like that adds to it. And obviously, like you touched on there, like six fights in a row, 4 finishes, and even even though they're like, on the weekend looking at it, there was like obviously a couple of hurdles throughout that fight, but still a reasonably dominant decision. And then, my last fight that went to decision was obviously for the eternal featherweight title against Diego, and that was obviously fairly dominant as well, like a complete shutout. So, yeah, I feel like I'm doing the right things, and it all kind of adds to it, and keeps pushing me in the right direction, and just reinforces those things. I'll fight I'll fight whoever the UFC or whichever, whoever the top promotions, if they, wherever that sort of the card's full or whatever, like whoever they give me is who I'll fight. I'm active. I put people away, and it's my fights are entertaining regardless. So I think that ticks all the boxes, right? That's all, and those are the boxes that you need to tick. I mean, like I sort of said, I won, won a few Australian titles. That's ticked off the list. And even I said it in the lead up to this because everyone was like, obviously kept bringing up the hex featherweight belt, Like, I don't care about the hex featherweight belt. I don't care. The Australian titles, that's off the list already. I did that. I ticked that off my list, and I even saw, and I held the belt that if we're going to talk about Australian titles meaning anything, I held the one that would mean more in, say, the UFC's eyes, if we're just going to go based on the fact that, Eternal's on UFC Fight Pass, or whatever it is like. But yeah, that's on there, can't be taken away. So it is what it is. And, yeah, so I feel like I'm in a really good spot, and I feel like, yeah, I'm right where I need to be. And I'm going to back myself. I thoroughly believe I deserve to be fighting the best people in the world. And, yeah, I'm excited to hopefully finally tick that goal off my list and start getting after it to work towards a world title.
Yeah, so like what is next then? Are there sort of, I'm probably putting you on the spot a little bit, but are there conversations out there being had? Are there sort of overtures from any big promotions? You're obviously going to have options domestically as well. What's next?
Yeah, so obviously I'll sit down with Joe and that, and talk to him and work out, and my team, and work out what kind of the next logical step is. Obviously, like I'm very fortunate to have like, guys like Joe, guys like Alex, and that kind of are there to sort of give me realistic, advice about stuff, and kind of, let me know, kind of guide me on that path a bit, obviously, because, they've gone from being at the bottom of the barrel at the start of the start of the journey all the way to the top of the mountain. So, yeah, I kind of just rely on the two of them and kind of what they say, especially with Joe. Like, obviously Joe's been around the game of any combat sports for so long, so he knows the ins and outs of it completely. So when I sit down and talk to him about stuff, it's kind of more often than not gives me a good perception of what to make of things. So yeah, I'll sit down with them and work out what's next. But obviously you got that June hex card. You've got a June Eternal card. You've got, man, so much happening in the local scene and coming up. Aussie MMA is like booming and booming and booming. Seems to just get better and better and better every year. So yeah, there's obviously options locally. But yeah, I think I'll sit down with them and figure it out. Obviously, in a perfect world, the next step for me would be go and fight in a top promotion and fight, some of the best people in the world. But yeah, obviously there is, from my end, there is that dialogue there. There is that sort of discussion. So yeah, I'm hoping that that's the next step. And then if before August rocks around, say for example that June hex card, if there's something that makes sense, like if there's something that from my team's end and from my end that really makes the most sense to do, and if all the things line up, then yeah, obviously we make it happen. I'm gonna fight. I want to be active. So, and then obviously that's gonna reinforce my position with these top promotions yet again. But yeah, obviously it's gonna be. I've never picked fights before and sat there and gone, oh no, I want to do this, I want to do that. But now I'm in a position where I kind of have to do that, right? Like I have to sit there and go and think about these decisions and be a bit more critical. And at the end of the day, I need to reinforce that to myself that it doesn't matter what everyone else wants from me. promoters, fans, friends, people that are just following the journey or whatever. I mean, media, all that sort of stuff, like respectfully, but also disrespectfully, you can suck a dick because I got to do what's best for me and my family and listen to my team and my coaches. So yeah, so we'll see what happens. But I'm excited because I'm back at it and hopefully some big opportunities are heading my way.
Definitely. I don't know that there's a respectful way that you can tell someone to just go and suck a dick, to be honest. So, I like how you sort of tried to sort of flick the barbs off that one before you then delivered it straight down the middle. So, that was good. I enjoyed that. But, I mean, yeah, like surely an opportunity's got to be sort of forthcoming one way or another. Like, like you say, you're sort of at a position now where you've kind of got to manage your career, aren't you? Because you can't just be. I know if you had it your way, you'd be back in the cage next month. But it sounds like realistically, you're going to have to sort of just assess all the options again, like you've done in sort of recent months, and sort of pick the right thing for you. So that might sort of push it back a little bit, right? The next fight, but I don't know. Let's put you on the spot a little bit here. Why do you think it hasn't happened yet? Like, you've been sort of widely regarded as the best featherweight in this country for like you say, for some time. There's been. Contender Series season is sort of coming up, I think, shortly. There was a Contender Series season last season, which would have seemed like good timing for you as well. There's obviously other options out there these days as well with PFL, and obviously one championship here. Obviously a fantastic promotion as well that's out there as what's that?
We got to plug one. I was waiting for it.
Look, to be honest, I'm disappointed it took 26 minutes to get that one in, but we did get a plug in, so that's good. I'm happy with that. But why hasn't it happened yet? Like, surely it seems like an opportunity should have come your way by now. What do you reckon the hold up has been?
Well, more often than not, when it's these things aren't straightforward, right? Like, I can talk to a bunch of people that have fought in these promotions and overseas and these top promotions, and then there's a lot that goes into. If you talk to sort of some of the people that deal with this sort of stuff, like, obviously there's a lot that goes into it. If it was as simple as just as you would hope that it is, then obviously it wouldn't be, I guess, worth chasing as much as as much as it is. I mean, if it's just like every Joe Blow with like a couple of wins makes a phone call and they go, yeah, mate, we'd love to have you, and then you're just in there, it wouldn't be on, these promotions wouldn't be on the pedestals that they are. So there's obviously a big process that goes into that. But yeah, I think, but also there was also a couple of, without going into too much detail, I guess there was a few people saying a few things, maybe that weren't exactly shaping up like how they were meant to, and then obviously from my end we've made it, like from our end, like with my team and Joe and my coaches, and now we've kind of made this decision to sort of not rely on some of those people as much anymore. So I think that's a good thing too, because obviously like Joe, especially from Joe's end, Joe's a very straightforward guy, and he's set in his ways as well. And if it's like one of those that a classic saying of like, if stuff me around, fool me once, then we'll give it a sort of, we'll give you the time of day. But then after that, it's like, nah, that's done. So yeah, obviously that's also, I guess, a bit of a factor as well. There was like that sort of side of things as well. But I just think, it's just it's all about timing, right? As well, it's got to be there's a timing thing that plays into this and a factor that plays in. So, but now, like I said, I'm the position that I'm in, where I'm at with everything, and kind of, I feel like I'm in a lot better position now, and I do genuinely believe that those opportunities for something bigger and better are coming my way.
Yeah, let's hope so. But also, there was obviously other fights on the card at Hex, so we've got to get into those as well. So, if anyone has any questions, of course, for Lockjaw or for myself, doesn't have to be about Lockjaw himself. I've got our Instagram at Dan Meehan MMA or at Lockjaw MMA. Hit us up and we can get to those on the in future episodes of the podcast as well. Just as a side note, but also at Hex, I know you're good friends with Jamie Heerden. She had a really good win over Jenna Fabian, which is obviously it's a big scalp in those in that sort of weight class. Although I think it was at a catch weight, wasn't it? Or it was
super light, I believe.
Oh, super lightweight. Yeah, okay. But yeah, she's kind of a come from behind win. She was sort of having a bit of trouble early on with probably the physicality of Jenna a little bit, and she's won by ground and pound in the third round. Called for a shot. She sort of mentioned Bellator, but I don't know if anyone's sort of let her know that Bellator doesn't really exist anymore. But obviously she's looking at those sort of heavier, weight classes, female weight classes that don't really exist in the UFC or one just yet. So PFL or Bellator seems to be the sort of the pathway for her. So what do you make of the win and sort of her prospects of moving on to the next level?
Yeah, that was a dope fight to sit down and watch. Obviously, Jenna's was like a super nice person as well, and got to meet her and stuff like that. So it was kind of one of those ones where you wanted to see both of them go out there and do well, but obviously that's not possible. So someone had to go and get the win. But yeah, obviously first 2 rounds, Jenna was just kind of running away with it, in my opinion. She was doing what she had to do, and utilizing her size, utilizing her strength, utilizing all her tools. Obviously, she's got some great kickboxing. She obviously must hit and kick very hard because she's obviously, not small, especially at that weight. But no, I think, it was Jamie just showed again that she's just resilient and will find a way to kind of just at least put herself in a position where there'd be an opportunity to win the fight. And once she got to that position, she was able to secure it and, do some good work to get the finish. So, I mean, I think she's cleared out. I think she said it on the night too. I think she's cleared out featherweight, lightweight, any of the girls in those weight classes. And then this fight had to be at super lightweight so she could get a fight. And she's beat, some tough people. So, yeah, I feel like she deserves a shot at something next, like a PFL or something like that, where there's going to be the opportunity for her to fight at like lightweight or featherweight or something like that. Maybe both or float between. So obviously I think, that's probably the logical thing that you'd want to see for her next is to be fly the Australian flag in PFL.
It kind of has to be, doesn't it? Like, there's not, like you say, she's gone up to super lightweight just to get a fight. She's been obviously an extraordinarily difficult girl to match, just because there's just a dearth of options out there, I guess, in the local landscape. So yeah, she's probably going to need something like that to open up the pool of potential opponents, right?
Yeah, it's the logical step, I'd say, would be for her to sort of end up somewhere like that where she can consistently fight people and, be an active sort of fighter that gets those opportunities. Because I think that's why she was floating between the different sports, right? Like boxing and Muay Thai and MMA, because it's the only way that you could fight often and be like, consistent with having fights. So yeah, for to see her sort of take that step up to the next level would be an awesome thing, because then we could see her maintain her consistency and see how high her ceiling really is.
Definitely. And where's Blood Diamond at this point? Like, he's obviously been released from the UFC after it was obviously a bit of a tough run over there, and now he's come back. He's fought Raymart Quintana at Hex on the weekend. He's lost by TKO in the first round. So where's Blood Diamond at?
Obviously that sucks. Seeing Bloods get caught on the weekend, and obviously first fight since the UFC run. Not the way that I would have liked to see it go. Obviously, I would have preferred if he was the one that was on the other end of that and was able to put Raymart down. Even though Raymart's a really nice dude, I have nothing against Guy. I really like Raymart. He's actually super nice. But yeah, see, I've got to rock with my boy Bloods and want to see him do well. But sometimes it just doesn't go that way. But it's one of those ones. You get caught, and it is what it is. But no, he was good afterwards. He was a good headspace. He wasn't hurt. No injuries. Like just made a mistake, got caught. So I think for him, there's some options, obviously regionally to make some fun fights, and then obviously if he can string together a few wins and get back to some a good sort of form that we've seen from him before, I feel like yeah, we could see him, making a step up based on the name and the brand that he has with him, the team that he's at, and his credentials in the combat sports world, especially with his kickboxing and stuff like that. I feel like we could potentially see him, find his way back to some of these sort of bigger promotions in either sport. Obviously, with some with maybe one is an exciting thing that could give him those options moving forward if once he strings a few wins together for MMA, or maybe just straight kickboxing or Muay Thai or all three. Who knows? I feel like for a fighter with his sort of experience and credentials on the feet, that's a dope option, obviously, because then you have the ability to fight in kickboxing and Muay Thai to kind of just do that, but at the same time, you can use that to keep yourself busy between MMA fights while still working and chipping away at that sort of well-rounded MMA game, and then kind of just go from there. So, yeah, I feel like he's gonna try and get back in there. I'd like to say he'd want to get back in there pretty soon, or definitely a few more times again this year, so he can kind of try and get the momentum back to where it needs to be and steer the ship in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's going to have to make every post a winner at this point now, isn't he? Like I think he's around 35 or thereabouts. So, he's going to have to put some wins together in MMA if he wants to pursue MMA, or maybe if he wants to go back to the striking world, maybe he's going to have to put all his eggs in that basket as well.
Yeah, and especially, I think, yeah, obviously there's definitely options, and as long as you're fighting and you're in a good headspace about it, and you're doing it for the right reasons, obviously, then the world's your oyster. It's just about stringing a couple wins together, and then things change quick. Like we've seen that so much in the sport. People sometimes things go on a bit of a run there. Next thing you know, they win a fight or two, and it starts opening some doors and putting some things together for them, and things just change, and then all of a sudden, ain't nobody talking about that sour run that they had.
That's true. We have short memories, don't we? So, Navajo Sterling is past his latest test as well on the card. He beat Stu Dare. It was
that. I'm going to tell you, you just butchered that. It's Navajo. I'll help you on that one.
Navajo. Well, it's also on brand, Lockjaw. It's taken me 36 minutes to butcher a name, so that's probably a good result in the end. So yeah, Navajo Sterling passed his latest test, beat Stu Dare by TKO in the first round. What did you think of it?
Yeah, obviously, kind of the expected result, I guess, on paper, and obviously, many of us, I think, especially the fighters that kind of follow the sport and know who he is as well, kind of expected that to be the result. I feel like, obviously, Stu's an absolute monster, deciding to take that fight on short notice and getting in there and going up to light heavyweight and fighting someone like that. But no, yeah, Navajo just went out there and did his thing. But I also, when I was watching it, kind of did pick out a little few bits and pieces where I feel like he knew that the door was there for Stu. The door was sort of showing up for him to sort of get out of there. And I feel like Navajo was real merciless in the sense of how he decided to end that fight or put him away. Because I feel like there was a couple of times there where he could have landed some brutal knees or some really big shots that would have, obviously ended the fight, but also would have done a bit of extra damage to Stu. So, yeah, no, I feel like it was obviously it sucks for Stu, and I know no fighter wants to lose, but in a sense, I'm happy that it just wasn't like a almost more violent end to the fight, and to see someone take some extra damage, especially when they're taking a fight on short notice. To give a young, hot prospect a chance to fight and add some more hype. So, yeah, obviously, I guess kind of expected the result, but at the same time, happy that it wasn't as brutal as it could have been.
Definitely. How hot of a prospect is Navajo?
Man, that he's insanely talented, and obviously he's got a lot of hype behind him. And obviously, training out of CKB is always going to add to that. And obviously, when you're a main sort of person to move around with guys like Carlos Ulberg, Tyson Pedro before he stepped away from MMA, Adesanya, guys like that, and you're kind of, you're the guy that's just in there with killers in a gym, with the killers in a gym full of killers. Yeah, you're gonna be highly talented and highly hyped, which is kind of is to be expected. So I feel like, yeah, he's got potential to be something massive, especially in that weight class.
Definitely, and yeah, someone else with some potential, it seems, is Sean Gauci. He had a win over. Do I dare try and pronounce the opponent's name? Nobuyoshi Tsukasa.
That's pretty spot on. I think
I kind of wish I didn't try that in the end, to be honest.
Yeah, a good win for Gauci. Obviously, going back to flyweight, I feel like there's some few things that needed to be ticked off and trying to worked out. Obviously, I imagine that the weight cut definitely didn't look like it was fun. And from talking to some people, it wasn't. So, but at least they have now an idea of where he needs to be to make sure that moving forward things are a bit smoother, and that's to be expected. I mean, you haven't fought a flyweight for a long duration. The first cut back down a weight class was always just gonna be a bit of a touch and go sort of process, but worked out for him. Obviously, he got the result. He carries a lot of power and was able to find the shot. Now, obviously, yeah, I thought it was interesting. I kind of mentioned this to you, but like his opponent was just moving. Like he started warming up from the first fight of the night and was like just non-stop doing stuff out the back, and I feel like that plays a factor, man. That played a factor in kind of him. I think he just burnt himself out as well, because obviously he went for a takedown in the fight, and went to sort of get Sean down, and Sean was able to just sprawl almost effortlessly and then put him on the back foot and then get him in the cage and then crack him with that big shot. And then the boys told me that, because obviously he went to CKB to do like his fight day sort of shakeout, and they told me he was getting absolutely after it. And that's not out of the ordinary for some of these Japanese guys. They all sort of seem to do that. And did that, was that something that kind of bit him in the ass in the scheme of things? I think it was. So yeah, obviously, yeah, Sean was a dangerous matchup. So he obviously got some power in his hands, and he's a dangerous guy. And then if you are out the back depleting yourself that extra little bit, you're not doing yourself any favors. So maybe some bad decision making on our Japanese friend's part, but. Nah, it was a good result for Sean, and obviously he's in a really good spot as well, and I think he called for a shot at something in the next level as well. So there's a lot of excitement happening right now in Australian MMA, and it's looking good. It's looking good because there's lots of fighters doing their thing and setting themselves up for some potential big opportunities, and Sean's certainly on that list.
Yeah, definitely. He looks like a good size for flyweight for me. That looks like more of his just by the eye test, obviously. But flyweight looks more his division from where I sit. Is he better off? Like, obviously he's keen for the next level. Is he better off ironing out those kinks, with more fights on the local scene? With like the weight cut, sort of getting used to sort of operating at that weight class, or do you think he's ready? It's now is the time to go.
I think he's going to be ready for whatever. If that opportunity comes, I think he's ready to go for it now. I think it's something that'll be pretty straightforward and be ironed out pretty well straight away. So I feel like he's ready for some big opportunities as well.
Definitely, I guess there's there's a pathway there at that flyweight division now at the highest the highest levels. Obviously, we've seen Steve Erceg sort of pushing towards the top of the UFC flyweight division. Again, one championship, stacked flyweight division as well. Lots of there's lots of obviously talent from that region as well. So yeah, I guess the opportunities are hopefully in any way. Hopefully those opportunities are there.
Yeah, exactly. Especially now in that weight class, there's a lot more opportunities than what there were, in a few years ago. So it's going to be, the doors are definitely there for him to sort of go and find some pretty cool things.
Definitely, and really The main event at Hex was pretty cool as well as a heavyweight stoush. Brando Pericic is obviously highly touted sort of MMA prospect. He was established in sort of the Muay Thai kickboxing world. Took on Randall Raymond, who's probably just the most nightmarish sort of gatekeeper at this point, isn't he? Like, he kind of said it himself after the fight. He said, if you want to get to the UFC or whatever, you got to come through me first. Well, he's got a 14-3 record, and he's been putting guys away. That's a nightmarish test to sort of take. And obviously Randall's gotten it done in the second round. So what did you make of the main event?
Surprising. Surprising that some of the decision making was surprising to me from Brando's end, but I did, when people were asking me, I did sort of say that if it goes past a certain distance, like if it starts getting into the sort of back end of round 2 or maybe goes into the third round, I was like, then it's going to start playing into Randall's sort of wheelhouse, and he's going to be able to start finding those opportunities, especially in the grappling and stuff like that. He's a black belt and he's very dangerous, and we saw that straight away in the fight. So he got sat down with a big jab that kind of put him on his butt, and then Brando swarmed on him and went for some big ground and pound, and Randall was able to throw up an armbar straight away that was very, very deep, very tight. Brando was able to survive that and then continue going back on the sort of ground and pound. And then, Randall was able to kind of survive the sort of storm that was coming his way and make it out of that first round. And then in the second round, once the fight got to a position where it was his world, he did what he did what he usually does and was able to get the submission. So obviously there's a lot of hype behind Brando, and he's obviously another dangerous guy that's super talented. And this is obviously, but I feel like this loss to Randall is going to make him even better. I feel like it's going to unlock a whole new level for him as well, because if I'm not mistaken, I think this is his first loss in MMA. So I feel like it's going to be good for him. And that's a scary thought, because he was obviously already such a terrifying individual and terrifying prospect. So now I feel like he's going to hit a whole new level, and he's in a good spot to do that. And he's around the right people. And Randall's just, that guy is just, he's different, man. He's different. But he obviously just capitalized. So if you're a heavyweight and you're trying to pursue this thing and take it to as far as you need to go, and you get to the point where you fight that dude, you can't just think like, oh, this is going to be a cakewalk. You're gonna have to go earn it.
Yeah, you're gonna have your ducks in a row, aren't you, before you go see Randall Raymond. But like Brando, he's 29 years old, which is young in heavyweight years, as we know. Do you think there's still there's potential there for the to reach the top level?
Oh, he'll fight at the top level, no doubt. I'm confident he'll fight at the top level if he goes and takes this and utilizes it the right way. Especially if he doesn't dwell on the fact that he lost too much, but he directs it in the right areas. I feel like he's gonna bounce back and be even more dangerous. And then before we know it, we'll be talking about how he's going to start that climb towards some big opportunities in one of these big promotions.
Awesome. Well, also we've got to sort of look ahead now in the calendar. Your former employers, I guess you could say, Eternal MMA, got a card on later this month. It's headlined by your teammate Amina Hadia, who's fighting for the inaugural flyweight title against Jacinta Austin. It's a bit of a banger of a matchup, that one. What do you make of this card and the main event?
Yeah, historical main event. First time that we've had women's MMA fight headline a show, Eternal show, and then obviously it's for the flyweight title. It's a great fight too. Obviously Amina and Jacinta are both doing some great work, and they put themselves in a really good position. And this is a matchup that is very interesting, especially being at flyweight with Jacinta, because she's been fighting a bit at strawweight, I believe. Amina's obviously mostly fought at flyweight and then had a few catchweights at like 54, I believe. So I'm happy that this sort of fights come together, and it's a great opportunity for both girls, and they both sort of thoroughly deserve it. But obviously, excited for my teammate, man. Excited to see Amina go out there and do this thing and get this belt wrapped around her waist, and then pretty well put herself in a good position moving forward, especially with a UFC card in Perth later in the year. She goes out, wins this belt, gets a title, maybe tries to tee up a title defense before then, and then that puts her in a really good spot as well, especially in that weight class and stuff too, and with doing these things and ticking off these, you take these big opportunities, you tick them off the list, it's going to certainly help you. So I'm excited and I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to that card. Has got some cracker fights on it as well. There's some bangers that are on that card, so it should be cool. It should be really cool. There's a couple of good featherweight fights on that card as well. You've got George Mangos fighting Dan Jones, and then you've got Michael Stanoff fighting Luke Jones as well. So those are both potential bangers that are on there as well. So it's going to be a cool card. It's going to be awesome. But I'm hoping that Amina just goes out there and shows her full potential, shows what she's capable of, and is able to get the win over a very tough opponent and match up with Jacinta, and then kind of separate herself from everyone else and show why she's the number one pound for pound female fighter in the region.
Yep, definitely. So 24th of May, that card. I don't know if I mentioned that from the start, but I think Mangos versus Jones, is that part of the featherweight Grand Prix for your old title?
Yeah, that's part of the featherweight Grand Prix. So obviously the winner of that fight will face the winner of my teammate Sebastian and Gabriel Schlupp, which goes down in the Gold Coast in June.
Yeah, there you go. And also they just announced for the Gold Coast in June, Lachlan Stitt versus John Varkey for the vacant welterweight strap. So that's some big news coming out of Eternal there. What do you make of that matchup?
Well, it's a banger of a matchup. That's going to be a great fight. Obviously, Lachlan's he's got a lot of hypers. He's an exciting young prospect. Obviously faced adversity when he went out there against Peter Templar and kind of had to go away and reset himself a little bit. And that's kind of what in the same vein as what I touched on just before with Brando. Like, it seems like Lachlan's done it the right way and, let that kind of fuel him to be better and hit some new levels. He fought recently and put on an absolute brutal, vintage Lachlan performance that we've seen where he won by knockout. And I believe that was might have been Enduro.
I was just looking that up because I did not know that he had come back. It was Enduro. There you go, in March.
So he was able to win there, get a knockout win, and kind of, get some momentum back. And now obviously it's given him a good opportunity to fight for his teammates. His teammate who was a former champion, Caleb Rideout, is fighting for his old belt. So this is a good opportunity for Lachlan, and he's someone that I spoke about this before. He started training MMA at my very first gym up in North Queensland at Mackay MMA, and to see where he's at now is just insane. Like, we're both here, we're both fighting, we're both in the same. We're down here now. He's in Sydney, I'm in Wollongong, so it's just weird how things like that pan out sometimes. Then obviously John's I guess now you could say a teammate of mine, being at a CKB, and he was obviously came over to help out for Volk's camp for Ilya. So I was able to, so he's someone that's become a friend and, another sort of cool person that I've sort of met through this sport. Obviously I like both guys, and to pick a winner in this fight is going to be it's going to be pretty hard because, kind of this is definitely a fight where it's like, man, they're both just nice dudes. They're both super talented. They're both just super cool guys, and you don't really want to have to sit there and go, oh, I think this is how it's going to go, and I think this person's going to win. But yeah, I'm excited for it. It's going to be an absolute banger because, Lachlan's obviously super dangerous. We obviously his last fight, he finished it on the feet, so we didn't get to see if he's corrected some of those flaws that were in his grappling and, which led to him getting caught in the fight against Peter. And then obviously John's super well-rounded, super dangerous. He can strike, he can grapple, he can wrestle. He's very credentialed, very dangerous, and obviously trains at one of the best gyms on planet Earth. So it's going to be a banger for the welterweight title. I'm excited for that one.
Definitely. Speaking of bangers, this past weekend, of course, I've got to mention one championship. We had one fight night 22. Reece McLaren was on the card. He's ranked number 4 in the flyweight division in one championship. So he's been with one since 2015. He's been in that top 5 since the rankings were created. He fought Hu Yong from China, who's ranked number 5. He's won by split decision in the end. It was a bit of a torrid first round. He definitely won the last 2 rounds, but the one MMA fights are scored as a whole, not as a 10-point must system. So sort of the damage that he sustained in the first round probably tipped the scorecards a little bit, but he's still come away with a split decision win, and he's moved forward in that division that's ruled by Demetrius Johnson. So, yeah, did you have a look at Reese's fight, and yeah, what do you make of that flyweight landscape?
Yeah, I watched Reese's fight. Yeah, it was obviously knowing that the fight scored as a whole, I did find it weird that at the end, that one judge gave it to the opponent. I was like, because 2 and 3, in my opinion, were quite clear to Reese. Obviously, round 1 definitely was a rough one for him. He got cracked a few times. But yeah, so I mean, but obviously he rallied up and was able to come back and start doing his best work in the second and third round. I think after the fact I read something that his opponent's arm got broken in the first round. So Reese must have obviously landed like a few good kicks or
I didn't
few
know
bits and
that.
pieces. So respect that dude for still fighting 3 rounds with a broken arm. But no, Reese is obviously in a good spot. He's obviously with Vince Perry retiring, former head coach of Puma MMA up on the Goldie. And then Reese did a brief stint where he was training with John Wayne Parr and that out of Boonshoe. And then since then now he's obviously found himself a new home at Combat Training Center with guys over there. So, he's obviously surrounded by some good training partners and some dangerous people, especially guys at his weight, some really talented fighters for that weight. So I feel like it's obviously, shown what it's done for him and given him that sort of mental reset a bit as well. And now he's in a really good spot. So I did see he was calling to fight. He's telling Demetrius if Demetrius is going to pursue something else to kind of let him fight for an interim potentially, or potentially, yeah, that's the fight that he sort of wants. It feels like, he deserves a crack at some sort of a big opportunity like that, which he does. He's in the rankings and he's been in the rankings for ages. And now you just had a really good win. So, yeah, obviously you want to see the people that are flying the flag and the top promotions do well and get big opportunities. So let's hope that, Chartry and the people behind those decisions that won give him that opportunity and he gets to fight for a world title or potentially an interim or at least a sort of number one contender fight or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, Demetrius is kind of undecided what he wants to do. He's been sort of, like you mentioned, he's been flirting with the idea of boxing, and he's been competing in grappling tournaments lately. Just got his black belt in jiu-jitsu, so he seems to be kind of just having some fun with some other things while he kind of figures out what he wants to do with his MMA career going forward. So yeah, like Reese touched on, the rest of the division's in kind of a little bit of a holding pattern because he's just lost to. He's in a bit of a weird spot because he just lost to the number 2 ranked Kairat Akhmatov, but Akhmatov tested positive for PEDs after the fight. So it's kind of like, do you give him a pass on that fight? I think it'd be fair to assume that, if Akhmatov's, tested positive after the fact that, he was probably doing things before the fight as well. But we don't know because we don't have the test, right? So it's a little bit of a weird sort of grey area that he's in. If you take that one away, he's won 3 in a row. He's lost to Yuya Wakamatsu, who's ranked number 3. He's lost to ranked number 2. Pardon me. He's lost to Danny Kingad, a controversial loss. Kingad's ranked number 3. I know he's really keen to fight Kingad again. He wants to get that one back. So. Could that be a spot? What's Adriano Moraes doing? He's a number 1 contender. He's obviously lost twice now to Demetrius. Is he looking to come back sometime soon? Could that be a potential, matchup for an interim belt? It's in a bit of a weird spot because we don't know what the top 2 are doing. We don't know what Demetrius is doing. We don't know what Adriano is doing. And then Reese is obviously chasing matchups with Yuya and Kingad as well. So yeah, he's in a little bit of a weird spot because it's a little bit of a grey area with the last loss. But yeah, hopefully there's an opportunity there for him because he said in his post fight interviews, he's paid his dues. He's been around for a long time. He's fought everyone. You look down at his record. He's fought a bunch of killers. So hopefully there's an opportunity there for Reece, because we need an Aussie to get behind in one championship. I keep saying we need an Aussie to win a world title in one, because the promotion's sort of starting to get some traction in Australia. We're obviously on 7+ now, so you can watch the fights for free on a big platform here in Australia, and it's getting traction. The numbers are trending upwards. We've got a good contingent of Aussie athletes there, but we just need someone to get right to the top, get that belt back like Martin Nguyen did a few years back, and then we've really got someone to sort of get behind and sort of market in this market.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be the big thing. Is like if he gets an opportunity to fight for a world title and goes out there and wins it, it's just going to be a boost. Obviously for him, it's going to be a boost for one in Australia for that market, and then obviously for Aussie MMA, it's another thing that just picks up Aussie MMA as a whole.
Definitely, and you know what? It's been a boost being back on the podcast. It's been a minute, so it's good to be back. We're going to be back every month doing these shows. Obviously. In a month's time, there'll be an Eternal card, a Demolition card. There'll be all kinds of stuff that will have gone down, so we'll be able to kind of touch on all that sort of stuff. We'll preview next month. There's 2 Eternal cards next month, so we'll have some previews and things like that. Obviously, there's a Hex card next month too, so we'll have plenty of stuff to talk about. Until then, send us your questions and get at us with anything that you want to see, don't want to see, want to have more of, less of. It's an open door policy. Let us know what you want from this, from our, the newly rebooted podcast, the Absolutely 100% podcast. Lockjaw, what do you want to take us off with?
I am going to leave off with just saying and giving a shout out to the man, Stephen Oseg, Astro Boy. Fell short on the weekend, but that dude is going to be a world champion one day. Mark my words. That dude is an absolute machine, and he showed that on the weekend. And Pantoja showed that if you hug people and do it at the right times, the referees are going to, the judges are going to be like, that's really winning the fight and that's scoring. And then depending on when you do it and how you do it, that's going to be playing your favor in a title fight. But just jokes aside, not taking away from either guy, but Stephen Oseg, absolute machine. He's going to be a world champion. Put a stamp on it.